Welcome to this podcast with me, Chris Jones, from Talent Campus. We're just a couple of weeks out from completing Talent Campus 9. I'm delighted to have Angela in the studio with me, who survived Talent Campus 9. Angela, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Chris, thank you. And I more than survived, I thrived. Had a wonderful time.
Fantastic. Well, look, give us the quick headline version of what Talent Campus was like for you.
Well, I was thinking about this and the phrase rocket fuel, you used that, and it was definitely rocket fuel. But more than that, it was Disneyland for screenwriters. It was so jam-packed with such great activities, and it just enthused and energized me every day I was there.
Right. I mean, that is something we do consciously, because, I suppose cinema, telly, all of it is drama, and we need thrills as well as, the heartfelt moments as well. So, Talent Campus is built to feel like a movie in a funny sort of way. So we don't want to give too much away about the fun and games that we have on Talent Campus, though we will drill down into some of that. But you came to Talent Campus with a horror script. Are you a horror writer, or is there greater depths to you than horror?
So I veer towards the dark with my writing, thrillers mainly, but this is my first horror. So I do write crime thrillers. I've written a domestic thriller, but this is my first horror, supernatural horror feature. And so I came to Talent Campus with the idea of kind of boosting that, trying to get that scene, or try to get the attention that I wanted. But I realized that actually it was good to have other scripts, under my belt as well. If people went into horror, I could tap into the other scripts that I had done as well. And there were lots of people who wanted to, read the horror because whether they wrote them themselves or whether they actually were just interested in it. But then I also had people asking me if I'd written anything else. So, yeah, it was good to be able to go back to my big pile of scripts that I've written and look back on them.
Right. And how did you hear about Talent Campus in the first instance?
So I have been aware of LSF for a long time. I've been to a few of the LSF events in person and online, and they are just amazing. And then it's funny, I was thinking about this because it must have just popped up on an email, and I looked at it, and usually I kind of think, oh, I can't do, if it's somewhere that I have to go for a few days, I can't do it. But I just thought, no, this grabbed me, and I thought, yeah, why not? Why not apply for it? So I did. And I'm so glad I got in.
And you got in. So I always talk to people about the run-up, and I don't know how much you want to share, but normally people have a bit of anxiety in the run-up to Talent Campus because we have all these seminars and Zooms, and stuff to do, which is really, and now you've been through Talent Campus, you understand that was a way to get everybody to know each other before we actually entered the room, so that we didn't spend the first 2 days kind of figuring each other out. We already had a good measure of who everybody was. But what was your run-up like?
So, I think I applied. It must have been in summer, so I thought I had plenty of time to prepare myself. But sadly, my father passed away quite near to when Talent Campus was going to start, and grief is a strange beast anyway. But I had it in my mind that I'm going to grieve for a week, and then I've got 2 weeks to do the prep for Talent Campus, and it doesn't work like that. And I found it difficult to focus. I felt I'm not prepared for Talent Campus. What am I doing? I'm going to go and sit with a whole load of strangers, and what if I get triggered? And just all these thoughts were going around my head, and I thought, yeah, I should defer. And that's what I thought I would do. Even though I really wanted to do it, I just thought I was not in a good place. And then, Chris, you sent me a great email when I emailed you and said, I don't think I can do this. And you sent me a really lovely email. You said that you got it. And you said that the universe had brought me Talent Campus at the right time. And it really had. Actually, it really had. But more than that, you connected me with someone else who'd been on Talent Campus, Paniotto, and she was amazing. I phoned her up, and we had an amazing conversation. We're on the phone for 2 hours. This was someone who didn't know me, and she opened up, and she was just so supportive and interested, and yeah, we were on the phone for such a long time. I felt like she was a friend by the end of it. And I trusted what she said. And she had gone through her own experience with her own father, losing her own father. And yeah, she said that magic line of she did it for her father. And I thought, yeah, I want to do this for my dad too. Because he always believed in me as a writer. In fact, though, he used to always introduce me as a director. And I'd say, okay, I'll take that. Writer, director. Okay.
Fantastic. And you're right, Paniotto had her own very similar experience. I think it was Talent Campus 3 or 4. I can't remember specifically. And, a lot of what you just said, the universe has delivered you Talent Campus. It all sounds a bit woo-woo, and it kind of is a bit woo-woo. I'm very happy to admit that. But what was your experience on the first day, walking through the doors and sitting down, and you must have been saying, what on earth am I doing?
Yeah, I was saying that, and I was very nervous, but very happy I'd got there on time. And I saw this room full of strangers. We had kind of connected online, but still, there was obviously trepidation from everyone. I saw a face that I recognized. But then, Chris, you came up to me quite soon, as I walked in the door, I think, and you actually asked me to read a letter. You said you were going to call on me to read a letter. And I thought, yeah, fine, that's okay. I can read a letter. They won't be my words, so I can read, and that's fine. And then I think halfway through the morning, you called me up to the front of the room, and you plonked a microphone in my hand. And then you asked me about my journey to Talent Campus and how I came to be there. And I did pause, and I thought, what? Where's the letter? I thought I was going to be reading a letter. I didn't agree to this. And but I looked at everyone looking at me. There were a room full of kind faces. I looked at you, and I thought, hey, I am a storyteller. We are here to tell our stories, and I'm going to do it. So I told my story, and I had lots of smiles and nods, not just from you, but from the rest of the participants, the other people, so I felt humbled telling it, and I also felt like I said I felt a bit unworthy because I felt everybody has their own stories, everybody has their own heartaches, but it was good to share. It was really good to share. What had happened to me, because I got such understanding back from everyone else there. And afterwards, I had so many people come up to me and share their stories. And it was really lovely. And I'm not that type of person, because I think I even said to you, Chris, I didn't want to come to Talent Campus and be triggered. I didn't want to be triggered into tears or having to tell people about woe is me, I've just lost my dad. I didn't want that, but you did the right thing. It was really good, I think, for me and everybody else, because they did all come up to me and they spoke about, what had happened to them. Some had lost people, some were going through their own things, so it opened us up.
You shared your story so beautifully and emotionally and honestly and authentically, and it was so brilliantly timed for the Talent Campus experience to elevate the kind of emotional level of the experience, to signpost that this is going to be an emotional journey into story. Because when we tell our story with depth and truth and integrity and honesty, it so resonates, and that's one of our ace cards in our deck of cards that we use as storytellers, is to speak from that place. And when you do, you can hear a pin drop in the room. Yeah. And it's quite extraordinary. And I remember that moment because it did shift the energy of the whole experience, and everybody just kind of let go at that point and went, okay, I'm just going to go with this ride, this crazy, crazy ride I'm on. Like, I've no idea where we're going. I've no idea what's going to happen. But if Angela can share this story, her story, so recent, so raw with us, then, maybe I can just take my armor off as well. And it just really, you created the space for the whole room to really elevate into a much more magical space. And, we could, by the 8th day, you could see, the impact of starting from such an emotionally resonant place. And it created this, magical experience for everyone at Talent Campus 9, even though one person came in with the flu and 30 people left with the flu. So, that part didn't work out. But, that's never happened before, and hopefully it'll never happen again.
Well, you know what I said about that? I was saying to someone, I said, if you didn't get the flu there, then it meant that you didn't hug enough.
Right. Right. And I know it sounds, again, to somebody who's listening to this going, what do you mean hugging? And it's it's really difficult to explain why the kind of program, and we've built it very consciously.
Yeah.
Why it works, and it, to use, modern parlance, it is a safe space. But the paradox is, within the safe space, we need to be dangerously emotional and exposed, because that is the access to the greatest stories. And not just the greatest stories, but the greatest way to tell the stories that you want to tell, that you need to tell, sometimes very commercial, and you have to knock them out very quickly if you're a professional writer. But you're using a tool set that delves much deeper. And you could see, I remember watching Mikey's face when you were sharing. And, he's somebody who probably deals with this much more than everyone, because he's a GP. And a very successful person in a different field. And he was really moved. And then, of course, it came to his share later, and he shared his own story. And you could see, the story, the screenplay that he's working on, he didn't just pitch it. He went to the place of honesty. And, oh, my goodness, did that elevate what he had to say about his story. It was something else. It was quite an amazing experience. The whole thing was just, amazing. What were the standout moments for you during your Talent Campus experience, without giving away some of the big fun things that we did? So we can't talk about the big stuff, or maybe we can in a circular way, but what were the big standout moments for you?
So I have to say, going back to what you just said, I think what really did surprise me was just how people did open up. I know I've said that already, but they also connected it to their own writing. And I think that just resonated with everyone, that everyone was delving into themselves and into their own writing, and being happy to talk about their own writing, because, as writers, we don't want to talk about our own writing. We want to sell them. We want to sell our writing, but we don't want to. We don't want to actually talk about it. So people were, opening up in that way, and that did really resonate. But there were specific highlights. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because it should be a surprise, because it is Disneyland and it should be a surprise. But it excited us so much, the stuff that happened. One of the standouts, because it was a complete surprise, and I'm not doing this in chronological order, was definitely having Charlie Brooker come in, because you just said, right, watch the screen, watch this trailer, and it was a trailer for Black Mirror. And I just whispered to Simon, who was next to me, I said, surely Charlie Brooker's not coming in. Have they got Charlie Brooker coming in? You could hear kind of a pin drop when he walked in. It was absolute shock. And I think I was so starstruck and nervous. And it was so lovely, him coming in. What a great surprise. And we all just, I wonder if we did actually even listen properly, because I think we were all still awestruck. I think I got that he runs around a particular park that I know. I won't mention it because I know that park. So, I may have to stalk him.
Right. And he was so great, wasn't he? And
He really
because he was so vulnerable and honest. And again, he's sharing authentically his journey as a creative, as a storyteller. And I remember as he left, I forget who told me this, but he turned to one of the talent campus and said, "Did I do okay?"
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, like you knocked it out of the park. But even he's got that thing going on that we all have going on.
he was so humble. He
Yeah.
really was so humble and so honest about his writing process, about when things go wrong. I mean, it was. I'm going to be using the word inspiring a lot, I think, during our conversation, but it was inspiring, and and it was energizing, and it was fascinating hearing about his process as well. That he can get things wrong, then he'll need to go off and walk, he'll need to come back, procrastinate, get back to it, write rubbish, then it's okay. He can do the vomit script. It's okay. He'll go back to it. It was really, he was very open, and I loved hearing him talk about his process.
And so, were there any other standout moments for you?
So I'm gonna really talk about there were wonderful guest speakers. As we're on the fame side of things, I'll just go to Anthony Horowitz, who I actually hadn't read. Obviously my kids have read his stuff. I don't really know his stuff. And what a guy. I mean, honestly, the way he spoke as well, he was so honest, he was so truthful, and he was really thinking about what he was saying and how he wanted to inspire us. I loved that he told me that the question I asked wasn't boring, because I had prefixed it with this is probably really boring, and he told me off for saying that, and I loved that. I thought, yeah, okay. What a character. But he what was interesting about him was that he basically was saying nobody knows anything, and that there are different ways of trying to get your work out there. You don't have to go through the tried and tested route. He didn't. Yes, he got lucky, but he's worked hard, and he was at the right place at the right time. But he gave me that hope that actually that strange and wonderful things can happen, and that you can actually get your work seen. So I honestly, after he spoke, I just thought, I want to be him when I finally grow up. He's a great guy. Really loved hearing him speak.
Right. And if you want to hear that conversation, it's already a podcast on the Talent Campus podcast. So I think it's going to be the previous episode from this episode with Angela. You're taking a breath in then, Angela, so I've cut you off.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say like the about the big moments. I don't know. Shall I?
We can talk about that. I mean, most people know there's a fire walk.
Okay.
So that was on. I can't remember. It was several days in. But what was your experience?
It was on the fourth day. It was on
Right.
the fourth day. So we had done some other amazing, weird, and wonderful things. But this was the pinnacle. This was and you were fantastic, Chris, because you said that you basically said, right, we're going to go through some training for this. And I must admit, I thought, training, well, we're just going to be walking on fire. Why do we need the training? And then I totally understood why we needed you to go through this with us, because the way you talked about it, you really, and you did this throughout. You're very wise and you're very knowing, but you basically prepared us to be brave, to trust ourselves. And I guess that's what this was all about. And to know that there was something bigger out there and that we could do big things. We could actually do big things. And so you talked to us. It was mainly you talking to us. For there wasn't a physical kind of training. It was you talking to us and letting us know we had this within us. And it was a journey. It was an internal journey you took us on. And I think we all connected to our, it's going to sound woo-woo, but to our soul.
Yeah.
I mean, you did.
Yeah. It does sound woo-woo. And I'm also a firewalk instructor. I do that, almost every other week. And the firewalking community can get a bit woo-woo. And I tend to veer away from anything that isn't scientifically, you can't prove it scientifically. And you can't, there's evidence that firewalking and other activities really does restructure the way your brain thinks. And then there's the anecdotal stuff about how people will change their lives after something like this, because it's in some ways it mirrors a moment in life. You'd had a moment in life where you lost your father, a month earlier or 3 weeks earlier. Sometimes it's a near miss in a car where, not literally your life flashes before your eyes, but you have that moment where you're like, that could have gone differently. And it causes us to reassess how we're stuck in a pattern of day-to-day, not necessarily mediocrity, but day-to-day. Yesterday was like tomorrow, and before you know it, years and decades are gone, and you don't quite know why. And things like the Firewalk and Talent Campus generally, it kind of pushes us out of that pattern and into the unknown, which is where the fear comes from, because, we like the pattern because it's certain, and we do like our certainty. But it's in the uncertainty that the juice of life is available. It's where the excitement and the thrill is, and it's where the catastrophes can lie as well. It's like we will get ourselves into some mischief at times, but most mischief is okay. It's not like we're taking real risk with anything, and so the Firewalk. It's an amazing experience for me to run it on day 4 of Talent Campus, because at this point now people are highly. We're ready to open up, and a lot of emotion came out. I saw a lot of fear on the Firewalk, and I saw a lot of people overcome the fear. And after they'd taken those 5 or 6 steps, sometimes spontaneously I got this like 30-second embrace, and it was I could feel the breathing in that person. And how something had changed, had shifted, and an emotion had risen, and they'd confronted it, and they felt unbelievably unstoppable. And of course, they just joined the line to go and do it straight away again, even though they probably decided earlier that they would do it once and that's enough. But once you've done it once, you're like, no, I'm all in. Let's go again.
I felt like that. Sorry to interrupt. I really did. And you brought up that word fear. And that what was so interesting about that is that it was when I was just about to do it, and I looked down and I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. And I'm so glad that you did do that 2-hour talk with us, because I thought, yeah, I'm ready to do this. And you're completely right. I wanted to be taken out of the ordinary. I was ready to do that. And I think everybody else was. And there were some really brave people who, who had physical difficulties, and they went for it. And that was amazing to see that. But I do want to I don't know if you noticed, there were 2 guys that were just watching us. They weren't part of Talent Campus. They were young. They were in their 20s, gung-ho bucks, looking at us. And we turned to them and we said, oh, did you want to have a go? And they said, are you crazy? They didn't. I thought, wow, that talk really must have helped us so much. We tapped into something there.
Yeah. Funnily enough, completely off Talent Campus, I've got to share this anecdote. I did a firewalk just last weekend for a charity, and the police showed up. And normally when I see the police, I'm a filmmaker, so I'm like, run! But they were lovely, and they were just curious as to why we were having this fire, and I explained it to them, and they were like nodding. And then one of them said, "What do you mean? What kind of shoes do you wear?" I'm like, "No, you don't wear shoes. You walk barefoot." And they were like, "You do what?" I was like, "Well, come and join us. You can." And like, "No chance, mate. No chance." And there were 3 of them. And these 3 coppers who came in all kind of like rah, rah, they're like, no, I'm just backing away. And it's hilarious because it really is a decision that you make, and it's nothing to do with your size or your age. It's just the point where you go, I'm going to do this thing. Nothing's going to stop me. And it's going to be awesome. And once you enter that space, then of course you start looking at the rest of your life saying, what else could I be doing? Could I get on a plane and go to LA? That thing that, I know intellectually I can do, but somehow I've not done it. And what else is there? Maybe I should call that agent. Maybe I should rock up to BAFTA to that event that I can probably get into. And that's, we've talked a lot about fear and some of the kind of crazy stuff that we do on Talent Campus. And that is all in service of taking massive action in our careers and so writing with bravery, but also behaving within the industry with bravery as well. So let's talk a little bit about the actual screenwriting part, because I know you had Emma Millions as your mentor. What was that like after 3 or 4 days of? We were doing screenwriting. I mean, Eleanor Green came in and talked, telly, and that was an amazing talk. But then to kind of drill down into your project finally.
So, and I do want to mention that almost full day of John York, which was amazing. That was wonderful. It was, I have an MA in screenwriting, but actually it was just great hearing someone talk about something so knowledgeably. And it reminded me of what I'd learnt in class all those years ago. And it was wonderful. He was brilliant. So that was, I think that was wonderful. So when we got into our mentor groups, we all, I think we were in groups of 8 or so, and we had Emma, who was actually, I was thinking, oh gosh, now we're actually going to talk about our work in detail. And I was a bit kind of, we all were so friendly with each other. I thought, now we've got to actually now be honest about our work. And she was very good in pulling out, the crux of, what was the problem or what was key in our works. And she was very good in making sure that everyone had a turn speaking about their own work, but speaking about everybody else's work. And it really, it's a cliche, but talking about other people's work really does inform your own writing. It makes you brave as well. It makes you more analytical. And she was really good at getting to the heart of, what your script was about. With mine, because I've got so far with it, what they all had a problem with was the title of my script, which was really interesting, actually, because I thought, okay, that is interesting because that's with the title that I have now, people are getting the wrong idea about the script. So we're coming up with ideas, practical kind of like ways that, the film could be sold as well. Yeah, she was very good at getting at the nitty gritty quite quickly in a very kind of comfortable, safe way.
Right. And of course you're still chatting with her on Zoom every week, and your mentor group is working as a little screenwriting unit, which is part of what Talent Campus does, as we build these little writing cells to live beyond the Talent Campus. So bringing it all to a close, as we're just passing the 30-minute mark, what do you think your big takeaways from the whole experience were?
And gosh, it's really difficult to put it in a nutshell because, Chris, it really has changed me. I'm not going to get all tearful because you make me cry all the time. But I'm telling you, it has had a profound, look, I'm choking up. It has had a really profound effect on me. I just keep thinking, all right, I need, not only am I obviously writing, but I'm also thinking about what I want to do with my writing and how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to connect to this person. I'm sending it, we're sharing our work with each other as well and helping each other. We've got WhatsApp groups that are so active. I mean, honestly, I think most of my day is spent, answering WhatsApp messages on the group because everyone's so supportive. So it's opened me up as a writer because we are quite insular beings. That's our very nature. And it's made me brave and it's made me believe in myself. And I know that probably, again, sounds like such a cliche, but I believe in myself as a writer now. I went to Talent Campus. Yes, I called myself a writer. I earn money as a writer, but not as a screenwriter. And I believe that I believe more in myself as a screenwriter. And I've connected with so many people. I think all of us, I will tell you one thing. I know we're nearing time's up, but I won't mention him, or maybe I will. Martin, who is it's hilarious when the two of us are together because I'm quite diminutive. I like to think of myself as a pocket Hercules, and he really is a Hercules. He's 10 feet tall, and he's quite knowing as well, and he's got quite a cynical edge to him, I think. And on the first day, he did say, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he did say, "Who feels like we've joined a cult?" and we were all laughing at that. By the end, Martin said to me, I'm totally up for this, and I don't care if this cult wants me to sell my home, I will.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I was aware of. I knew he would be resistant on the first day. I mean, we've had so many people pass through Talent Campus now, and there, you can tell on the first day, and a 100% success rate of getting people over the line, of just letting go of that cynicism that protects us. It really does protect us out in the cold, harsh world at times. But when that becomes the dominant pattern, of course, it shuts down the possibility of other experiences. And, his project is extraordinary. And he has a huge amount of experience within the field of his project, but it's a hard project as well. It's a tough project dealing with injustice and difficult, very, very difficult events. But yeah, I remember seeing him on the very final day pretty. I don't want to say what was happening, but he was fully engaged and enthusiastic, and it was a beautiful thing, to see. It was so amazing. I'd have two final questions. Normally, when I interview people, I always ask, what advice would you offer a screenwriter? But I'm going to ask two in this instance. The first one is, what advice would you offer a screenwriter who's sitting on the fence about whether they should come on Talent Campus or not? That's the first question.
Well, I would definitely say jump off that fence. I don't think you could have a better experience. And even if you think there's no way, because you're probably listening to this thinking, what, there's hugs, there's kind of like, mad stuff happening. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself out there. By the end of it, you will be so happy that so glad. Actually, you will be so grateful that you did it. I would say, and I know this again probably sounds very cheesy. It's a very cheesy line, but the only disappointment I had from a talent campus is that it ended,
Yeah.
I would have loved for it to continue because it's just something that has really made me feel so positive about everything, actually. So if you're sitting on the fence, I will say jump off and jump into Talent Campus, because Chris really knows what he's doing. He really does. There's so much thought that's gone into it, not only by Chris, but also Bob and Amy, Lucia. They're all there to support us.
Right.
They supported us through it all. So please jump in.
Right. I mean, it's very much like a film. It's like one or two people tend to get the glory, but you're absolutely right. It's Amy in the background running all the tech. It's Lucia running around like mad to, she even sorted out a dentist appointment
I know.
for one of our delegates, and a bed for another one. And,
yes.
So it's all happening, in the background. It's like, how can we? Because it's really part of our philosophy. Like, if it can be better, it should be better. So how can we make it better? Sometimes you can't do that because reality gets a vote. But most of the time, you can improve everything. And when we're demonstrating that in the room, I think it inspires us all to kind of look at our scripts and say, actually, it could be a bit better. And it's worth that extra push to go on the extra mile. And as I always say, there's not much traffic on the extra mile. And that's where we want everyone to be at. So come and join the cult.
And I mean, there wasn't one boring moment. I mean, I think that's why I was on such a high. There wasn't, and we felt so supported, all of us, not just from each other, but all of you that were there. You just organized it so well.
Thank you. I'll let Lucia know that, and she'll totally take that on board and receive it, and it will make her smile. Okay, so my final question is, maybe it's even a question that you can answer for yourself. You can actually tell yourself the answer, but what advice would you offer a screenwriter?
It's definitely advice that I need to take on board myself. I think you have to believe in the process. And, I used to say that and maybe not believe in it, but you have to. I think that's what Talent Campus taught me as well, because we did do screenwriting. We did have masterclasses. We talked about our work, but you worked on us. You worked on our whole being. It was very holistic. And it wasn't just about putting pen to paper or putting your fingers on the keyboards. It was about the process that adds substance to your writing, because your writing should have heart. Your writing should have truth. And Chris, you said, and I love this, I was telling someone about this, you called us, in a previous life, we were probably shamans. We were the ones that told the stories that try to make sense out of life in an accessible way, you know. And I think that that's what I learned a lot from Talent Campus. So I would say to any writer, to a screenwriter in particular, who is sitting in front of their blank screen, their blank page, and it's not coming, that is part of your process. Stick with it. It's going to happen. It's going to come. It is a process, especially if you're writing something that's worthwhile.
Amazing, Angela. Thank you so much for our conversation. I know I will see you before, but I do look forward to seeing you on the red carpet at the Oscars. So thank you.
Hopefully I won't be sweeping it.
It certainly won't be that. So, yeah, well, maybe in the next few years, let's set that as an aspirational timetable. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Chris. It's been wonderful. It's really made me relive Talent Campus again. So I'm feeling great again.